Cool. Looks like we're live. Hi, Charlie. How are you?
I'm really well. How are you? Well, I'm a little bit croaky today. COVID has struck, but actually, on the whole, I'm fine. So I'm surviving. But I apologise to everyone listening. I do not smoke 40 cigarettes a day. I'm just a little bit croaky today, but I will power through. Coffee and lemon sip at the ready.
Voilà. And you've worn your already put on your Christmas sweater as we asked. Great.
Of course. Yes, I realise it's chopping me slightly. It says sparkle, and I've got my Christmas earrings on as well. So it was really nice. We're swathed in Britain with advent calendars at the moment.
Oh,
I don't know what it's like across Europe, but you can't swing a cat in Great Britain without hitting an advent calendar of some description. And nearly all the loyalty programs are doing big advent calendar led promotions as well. So I had my Marks and Spencer Sparks Beauty advent calendar this morning. So I'm also wearing my new lip gloss that I got today.
nice.
So feeling very Christmassy. I hope you all are too.
Yeah, in Belgium it's a bit forbidden to talk about Christmas before Santa Claus has come, and that's actually today.
Oh,
So
really?
many little kids woke up this morning with the table full of chocolates.
Oh, how
And
fabulous.
yeah,
Do you do the shoe thing, or is that the
yeah,
duck?
exactly. That's the thing. So we put the shoe, and then supposedly Santa Claus comes over the roof and fills it with candies and gifts. So yeah.
Oh, how fantastic. Yeah, that's lovely. No, it used to be sort of the middle of November in Great Britain when you could start talking about Christmas, but every year it seems to sort of eke slightly closer to the beginning of November. But yeah, from the 1st of December, everything's fair game here.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
Cool. So yeah, we see the people joining already. We're waiting a little bit for Phil Shelper to join. He's having some technical issues, but if he wouldn't make it, we still have his knowledge here present a little bit. And as you can see, we've actually been reading it. So a lot of stuff there about rewards. Charlie, have you read his book already? And any
Yeah,
intention on your side to
I
collect all
am
your
that
knowledge in
kind
a book?
of that complete nerd, though. I do confess, actually, I've only read the first edition, so I'm probably going to get a smacking from Phil when he finally joins us. I must get hold of the second edition and read it. Yeah, I found it a really useful grounding. Actually, we tend to, some of the loyalty programs that we work in are, on the very fringes of loyalty and engagement. So I found his book, along with my Loyalty Academy certification, a really helpful introduction to kind of how things work, how the business cases work, how the processes work, and it's a really good grounding, even down to the way he categorizes the market, the kind of the three core types of loyalty programs. Yeah, it's a brilliant read. Anyone, I thoroughly recommend checking it out. I take it with me on the train, actually, although I have also just finished Amanda Cromhout's book, Blind Loyalty. So yeah, I always like to have a workbook on the go, as well as some sort of trashy rom-com or sci-fi book, or something else. I tend to alternate.
Yeah, and you're also running a business, just like me, so probably also doing the same thing, a good book for new employees to get immersed in the space, right?
Very much so. Training is so important to what we do with the teams. And the past sort of 6 years at Mando Connect, we've grown from a team of sort of 3 to 34 now, I think we are. So yeah, building up that kind of loyalty, knowledge, and insight is really important, kind of across the group. And we use formats like this. Actually, the webinars are really great. We tend to start the team off on the kind of webinars, the reading, the Wise Marketer Loyalty Magazine, and then after they've been with us sort of 6 months, we try and kind of make things a bit more formal. I know Phil does the same thing, actually, at his company. He uses the book and then the training courses as well to kind of make sure everybody's aligned and up to speed.
So quick introduction for people who don't know me. My name is Simon. I'm the founder of Stampix. Stampix is a photo reward solution, a very niche reward in the loyalty space. And I'm very excited to host this fireside chat. We decided to give it a bit of a different name as opposed to the normal webinar. And we've brought some of our Christmas spirit. I have a little decoration behind me. I hope Phil will be joining any moment, but the topic we're going to cover today is rewards. I think this is top of mind with many loyalty marketeers. And so we brought with us Philip Shelfer, about to join, hopefully, and of course, Charlie Hills. Charlie, we've already talked a little about Mando and WBP, but maybe a quick introduction from your side still?
Sure, for everyone who skipped that bit, welcome to the call. So my name's Charlie Hills. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Mando Connect, who are WPP's loyalty specialist and partnerships agency. based in London, work pan-European and globally, and sort of a certified loyalty nerd, author of lots of white papers, podcast host for the Let's Talk Loyalty, editor at large for the Wise Marketer. I teach for the Loyalty Academy. I have a really cool job. It's really nice to meet you all.
Cool. Charlie, maybe first topic I wanted to touch was loyalty psychology. There's a big chapter about this in Phil's book, and I'm sure he can elaborate on it when he joins. But maybe from your perspective, the concept of surprise and delight, is this something that you see being top of mind with your clients, and how do successful programs actually leverage that?
Yeah, I think it's a really brave loyalty tactic, actually. It's one of the mechanics that we track in our research, actually. And I spent a long time fighting to get it recognized in the industry as a loyalty mechanic, because I think the default setting is points or milestones or a membership club or a subscription or, tiers. And actually, there are whole programs that we run and that are in the market that we don't work on that are entirely predicated on surprise and delight. And I think there's a really interesting element to that as a loyalty marketeer, because you've got to think about who your members are. You've got to think about what matters to them in life and what they like, and what your role is within their broader lifestyle. And actually, I think surprise and delight is a really nice way to get noticed by your audience and to actually offer that little bit more special and that slightly positive disruptor moment of, oh, wow, I've got this thing, how fantastic, can have a far greater impact than, oh, these are the rewards that are there for me to choose. So I think it's an essential part of any loyalty strategy now. And I think programs use it in a couple of different ways. I'm sure Phil will sort of expand on this from the work that he's done on it. But we see sort of two ways that surprise and delight are largely applied within loyalty. So the first one is what I've talked about. The entire program is predicated on surprise and delight. We're privileged enough to work on a program called Voxy Drop. We won at the International Loyalty Awards with it for, loyalty redefined, because it was such a disruptor to the loyalty market, largely because the whole thing is inspired by sneaker drops. So it's a telecommunications program that's aimed at 16 to 24-year-old consumers. And actually, we know that audience, they're not that motivated by points. Value is really important, but they don't want there to be too many rules. So we run the entire program on social media and surprise and delight. Once a month, we work very closely with our client team to identify really cool new drops and then surprise our audience with them through social media. And then they'll have to scurry around and get them quickly before they run out. So scarcity and surprise and delight working really closely together. Pret is another fantastic example of that in the British market. So coffee retailing, each barista is empowered to give away 1 or 2 coffees a day entirely on a surprise and delight basis to their audience to really build that brand love. So some programs are entirely surprise and delight. And then the other model, which is obviously far more common, and I know you're familiar with, Simon, is those programs that actually use surprise and delight as part of their rewards and benefits portfolio. And again, that tends to take the form of either little drops that they do. So Costa Coffee, one of the biggest programs that we see in Britain, has just moved to that model. So the 10 coffees, get 1 free, or 5 if you use a reusable cup. And then they do treat drops on top of it as well, where you can get a slice of cake or, an upgrade. So a really nice model, and then the promotional kind of opportunity within there as well in terms of prizes and the, oh, have I won or haven't I won moment. So yeah, a really interesting mechanic, I think, and pretty essential now.
And so I guess a brand can choose between surprise for all, which everybody gets to if they engage, and then I guess also limited, more valuable rewards that are limited in offering, and first come, first serve type of thing.
Exactly. And I think, all programs are under those big cost of living pressures at the moment. We're all seeing our cost base increase. We're all seeing our redemption and active rates increase as members are, using their loyalty programs more. We've just hit 90% in the British market for membership, which is insane. Wow. So actually you've got large engaged bases claiming rewards. So actually surprise and delight can also be a really smart way of controlling your budget, and giving everyone the chance, or key segments the chance, to get these kind of added value, higher rewards than perhaps you could offer to everybody.
Yeah. And from a psychology standpoint, a framework I recently encountered was coined by a famous Caltech University neuroscientist called Marcus Meister. In the space, he's pretty famous, but I had never heard of him. And he basically claims that our neural circuits divide our sensory experiences all along the dimensions of yum, yuck or meh.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, so it's such a nice framework. And yum obviously is behavior that we want to repeat, that we like, forward movements. And then the yuck is the reverse of against, what we want to repel from and don't want to do it again. And then there's a big space with the meh, where people basically don't care and don't want to devote any brain activity towards anymore. So I think it's also an interesting framework and a nice lesson there for brands, that when they do something, it's going to be categorized in one of these buckets, and there's not much in between. So staying out of the meh zone and the yuck zone in the yum is really where you want to be, and that's where, of course, where we have the rewards, dopamines, and those. Phil, you made it. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, Simon. Hi, Charlie. I'm so sorry about that. Serious technical issues. It refused to let me in.
No worries. We're glad you made it.
Yeah. Sorry, I've had to dial in on my mobile, but dialing in from Sydney. So hi, everyone.
Yes, cool. We just got kicked off, Phil, but maybe it would be great for the audience to give you a quick introduction on yourself. We already discussed your book. I have it here with me. So, but please, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much. So my name is Philip Shelper. I'm the CEO of Loyalty and Reward Co. We design the world's best loyalty programs for the world's best brands. We're based in Sydney, Melbourne, New York, and recently London as well. Very great to be here.
Nice. And we kicked off the conversation, Phil, with surprise and delight and loyalty psychology. But, I've obviously read that section in the book, but it would be great if you could sort of elaborate on that topic.
Sure. I'll try and keep it brief because there's a lot I could talk about here. But yeah, it's a really interesting, it's a very primal part of the brain that surprise and delight activates. There's been some MRI scan research that's done that shows it activates the same area of the brain that's activated when people have cocaine or when people have an orgasm. So it's very, very deep. And it is really beyond just exceeding the expectations of a customer and overly satisfying them. It's something much, much deeper and much more emotional. So if you can, provide a surprise and delight experience to a client and get them to feel something, then it's a really great way to build emotional engagement with a brand. And it doesn't need to be expensive as well. Schwartz in, I think, 1987 did a research study where he went and sat in an office next to the photocopier, and he put 10 Pfennig on the photocopier. So this is pre-Euro. And then people would come along to use the photocopier and find the 10 Pfennig and pocket it. And he'd then ask them about their life. Were they happy with their life? Was there anything they wanted to change? How positive were they feeling about the future? All that sort of thing. And he found a direct correlation between people who'd found the money and other people who used the photocopier and didn't find any money. That the people who found it were significantly more positive in how they reported their general life feelings. So just those small little wins can trigger that part of the brain and really lift the mood. And so there's a really great opportunity for brands to do that in every interaction. And a great way to do that as a strategy is to work for people to work their way around all of the customer touch points and say, where's the opportunity for a customer to be delighted via an interaction through this touch point, and build out a really comprehensive strategy from there.
Great example. And out of curiosity, how much is this 10 Pfennig? Do you know? Is it a lot or is it very little?
Well, that was German money, so I think it was 1/10 of a mark. Yeah, God, I'm sounding really old now. I apologize.
No, so it's not a lot. So I guess the main takeaway is it doesn't need a lot to bring the element of surprise and delight to people's life.
Yeah, we've
That's right.
definitely seen that in the European market as well. The rise of sort of micro gifting, actually, and actually small little things can actually mean more and perhaps even be more credible than those big, once in a lifetime experiences that programs used to hang their hat on. And we have a lovely saying as well. For I don't know if you know, see a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck.
Oh,
Yeah,
So it's very much that same
that's it.
insight of, it'll cheer you up,
Yeah.
it'll bring you into mood. And I think what's lovely about brands is it also enables frequency of connection. You can do a little things a lot more often that mean a lot more to your audience. So yeah, that's a really nice example.
yeah, great. And Phil, you mentioned tying it into the customer journey. So that brings us also to timing, because very often it's all about the ABC of gifting, as we call it, which is anniversary, the brand's anniversary, the birthday of the member, and then of course
Yep.
Christmas, which is just around the corner. I think for many loyalty programs, these are really the moments that they also tend to focus on. But how do you think, Charlie, that brands can navigate this question on whether to be only part on those moments or just differentiate and go beyond? What's your take here?
Yeah, we wrestle with this with a lot of our clients, actually. It's become a bit of a hygiene factor, I think, that you get some sort of message from the loyalty program on your birthday. The best programs are obviously aware of when your anniversary is, but not everyone's got that kind of data. And is it anniversary of joining the program? Is it anniversary of becoming a customer of the brand? Which is the right anniversary? And then Christmas is obviously a kind of natural for most markets in the world. It's a key retail moment, but we also look at a lot of other retail moments. So, religious festivals, key days, Black Friday, who'd have thought that 10 years ago, but Black Friday is almost as big a moment in the kind of retail calendar as that Christmas, New Year, Boxing Day or January sale sort of norm. So I think for each program, it's really important to understand what you're trying to do and who your audience is and where it's relevant to connect. I always talk about the more boring sectors actually sometimes have the more interesting moments. I think if you think I've recently had my birthday, I've just turned 46. It was fabulous. Had my insurance loyalty program contacted me on my birthday, it might have triggered me to look at my pension, or it might have triggered me to start thinking ahead. Whereas, the coffee shop programs that I'm a member of, I'm like Phil, I'm a member of hundreds of programs, all sent me a piece of cake, to enjoy with the coffee that I was then going to go and purchase. And that's very relevant. So I think I don't think there is a one size fits all. I don't think every program should do an anniversary message. I don't think every program should have a birthday message. I don't know how I'd feel if my utility company, for example, contacted me on my birthday. I think that would definitely be in the yuck space that we were talking about, Simon, rather than the yum space of the coffee and the cake. So I think it's about understanding your audience, understanding your role that's genuine and authentic, and then figuring out which are the moments that are right to connect for you. But yeah, I definitely don't think it's one size fits all.
And probably best to make it fit with your brand values as well at some point. So,
very much so.
Phil, what's your take on this? Are there any components, timing elements that brands should consider?
Yeah, well, one thing that research has shown is surprise and delight quickly becomes an expectation if it's repeated too much, and that's the challenge with businesses providing anniversary, birthday, Christmas rewards. Is if you do it once, then the expectation next year is that you're going to get something, and ideally something better, and so you then rapidly lose the benefit that you've generated from that emotional engagement in the first place. I think if you look at further to what Charlie said, if you look at what most companies are doing in this space, it's mass market discount vouchers or a gift with purchase type thing in order to try and stimulate an additional transaction. So it's really just using the birthday as another marketing channel. Now, what's interesting about that, particularly for birthday and for Christmas, is it actually really works. So we've seen a number of our clients who and other companies who share data with us who see really significant take up of birthday discount or credit vouchers, even if they've got a minimum spend on them and quite a short expiry period. Much more significant take up than if they provided the same sort of benefit throughout other times of the year. So there definitely is something there. But it's very difficult to make that consistently work at a surprise and delight level and do it in a way that is measurable, and your CFO is going to say, yeah, sure, I'm happy for you to keep spending money there.
Yeah. And we look at the components of a different reward. So we have a sort of a reward DNA model that we use across all the programs that we work on. And we tag every reward that we create and deliver with our clients and every partner with a whole bunch of metadata that helps us actually understand, what's driving traction, what's driving behavior, what's driving NPS. And the sorts of areas that we would look at is topicality, seasonality, how much comms did it get, what interest category is it, what mechanic is it, what's the value of it, what's the the claim experience of it, how available is it. And there's a whole load of tags that we look at, and topicality and seasonality is not one of the primary drivers, but when, as Phil's saying, when we're doing like for like comparison, we do find in the British and the European markets, when you align to a key moment for the consumer or a key moment for the retail calendar, we do see a spike, but not perhaps as much of an impact as getting the reward right. So getting the interest category right or the value of the reward right for your audience has a bigger effect on reward engagement and impact. But seasonality is definitely an important one.
And the term that's often coined is reward effectiveness. It's also described in the book, Phil. But Charlie, do you have it also part of your DNA? Do you rank all your rewards in your catalog according to effectiveness as well, or how does that work?
Super nerd. Yeah, I mean, we're all about impacts, the kind of really important to use data and insight. Just like Phil, we have that in common with, actually using data and insight to understand what people want, and then really important, measuring it and learning it afterwards and seeing what's true. I love it when we bust a myth, when the car windscreen scraper I've talked about a lot of conferences, outperforms the Beyonce ticket. You're like, how is that possible? And then really understanding how those things have happened. So yeah, really important to look at what's right, and then really important to learn from it at the end, and then net out some actionable insights so that next time you do it, or next time you're creating something, you do it better, constantly kind of optimizing. We tend to work with our clients to understand what success looks like for them as well. So I know Phil writes about this in the book as well. It's not one set of KPIs for every program. Simon, I know you're the same. Some programs are predicated on love, some are actually on behavioral success factors, some are on brand perception. Actually, we work on some programs where they're really about, actually, what does this make you think of us as a company? Or, we're even starting to see corporate social responsibility come through as a key KPI for the program, and enhancing, that and building proof points for the business for that within your loyalty program. So we tend to bucket our KPIs into customer, brand, business, and then other. And then other can be, anything from stakeholder impact to CSR and beyond. And I think that other bucket is what's really changing at the moment. Certainly when I started out in loyalty 20 years ago, it was just all about transaction. What's the business case, Charlie? I was lucky enough to start at Boots. What a program to begin your career on. And that was all about, actually what was the business case. But that program looks very different now. So it's an interesting set. What about you, Phil? What sort of KPIs and effectiveness measures are you looking at with your clients on sort of some of the world's best programs?
Yeah, so we break it into 5 areas. So acquisition, and obviously there's lots of sub KPIs that sit under that. So acquisition, stimulating incremental spend, retention, advocacy, which is more a soft measure, but then also data collection as well. So that's really the five areas, which I think covers everything. And obviously lots and lots of layers underneath that. So when we're talking with clients about what a best practice loyalty program can deliver, that's where we focus.
Yeah. And effective rewards are also usually defined as the difference between perceived value and actual cost, making them efficient. Sorry, that's the right word.
Yeah.
And then effective is how
efficient. Yeah, that's right. So so we talk a lot with our clients about efficient rewards. So it's a big part of the conversation. There's some industries that have a significant unfair advantage. So if you look at airlines who have empty seats on a plane, hotels with empty rooms, car rentals with cars that are available, cosmetics. So the cosmetics brands have a wonderful time with all of their samples that they can provide. Movies is awesome, free tickets, and popcorn is awesome margin in popcorn. If you can get into the popcorn industry, I'd highly recommend that. So you do get those industries where they really do have a great advantage, and there's a clear correlation between program engagement and those industries that do have access to those efficient rewards, because people are seeking value, and value is really a primary driver of loyalty program engagement. For everyone else, then it's looking at what you've got internally or what you can partner up. So I think what Charlie's doing with Vodafone's a great example. Vodafone doesn't have efficient rewards other than things that have been heavily commoditized already, such as calls and voice and data. So going and partnering up with third parties to deliver that value is a really fantastic strategy that's working very well for them.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. For the next segment, guys, we've decided to spice it up a little bit. So we're going to do a little bit of an interactive role play where I'm going to be taking on the role of Frank Frowner, let's say loyalty manager at a telco company. And as you can guess from my name, I'm a bit skeptical about investing in these rewards. But nonetheless, I've been instructed to recognize my customer base for the next years to increase emotional loyalty, because I think that's also one of these buzzwords that we hear coming back a lot of time. And so I think we're going to share on the screen some of our loyalty metrics. Now you can see me, and you can also see the result of Photoshop AI making me look like Frank Frowner here. So yeah, we're gonna pass it over to you guys, Charlie and Phil, and feel free to ask me any questions. Or what type of questions would you ask a client who seeks out to you guys for advice in this space?
Charlie, this is right in your heartland.
Well, and yours. I think my first question would be, where do you get your eyebrows done, Frank? That's some really special photoshopping you've got going on there. So I'm not sure I would have recognized you in that photograph, thereby proving what all my team tell me all the time, that your eyebrows are apparently the thing that you absolutely have to get right. Oh gosh, there's so many questions. So I mean, again, there's so many commonalities between our approach and the approach that kind of Phil puts together, but we very much start with a briefing and ambitions phase at this point with our clients. So we would be wanting to understand what your ambitions are, what success looks like, what you've done before, what you admire in the market. And we tend to run workshops with the Frank Frowners of the world at this point in time to really understand what is said, what isn't said. And for all the listeners, my absolute favorite question that we always learn the most from is, what does brilliant look like? Like, what's your dream partnership? And then absolutely, what would you hate? What would you hate and why would you hate it? And that's my number one question. My team always get really nervous when I ask that question, because they're always terrified that the client is then going to kind of say all the things that we were thinking of recommending. And I'm like, no, it's great. We want to know it up front and we want to know why. And I think that's where you really unlock the real insights. That's where they will tell you that, 3 years ago, they did a campaign that cost so much money that got no return on investment, or they did something and actually their customer call center went nuts because the journey was really bad. And I think that's where you unlock the real thing. So that would be my kind of killer question. And then I will leave the sensible questions to you, Phil, because I know you have a kind of a rigorous strategic approach for this. What would your approach be?
Yes, I think the first question that we always ask our clients is, what are the desirable behaviors you want your customers to exhibit at each stage of the customer journey? So the wonderful thing about loyalty programs is they've deeply embedded consumer psychology in them, and it's really all about behavior. So if a company is implementing a loyalty program, they should be thinking about stimulating specific behaviors. So I'd sit down with Frank and his team and map out the customer journey, and at each stage say, what do you want customers to do there? And that then gives a blueprint for what the design of the program should be. It can be then laser focused on stimulating those behaviors. Once it's launched, you can see straight away whether it's doing it or not. If it is, awesome, do more of it. If it's not, well, you need to adjust. But also it then gives a very clear metrics structure to the program as well, so that you can measure whether it's doing what it needs to do and tie that back to ROI. Mm-hmm. I'd talk about the metrics. So do you want to, is the primary focus here reducing churn? Is it increasing engagement with the app, which is pretty low? Is it boosting spend and customer lifetime value? Is it boosting NPS? So what are the primary objectives here? Because that will adjust where you want to focus and what you want to do. I'd also devil's advocate a bit. You'll love this one, Charlie, because telcos, utilities, insurance companies, banks, they're actually terrible for rewarding their most valuable customers, because their most loyal customers. If you're loyal for one of those companies, it's a terrible thing to be. You want to be angry and constantly threatening to leave, because it's a squeaky wheel type structure there, and it makes, from a financial perspective, it makes sense. If a telco knows that a customer is happy and they're going to stay, then why would you invest money in them for a program, or provide them with rewards, when if you invest that money in someone who is a churn risk and you get them to stay, that there's actually that financial benefit there. You keep your churn rate low. That sort of thing. So I think being clear in terms of the objectives will then dictate what's going to be the right strategy for the program.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point there that you raise about the different audiences that you would look at as well. So we always look at behaviors, but we tend to use a think, feel, do. So what would you like your audience to think as a consequence of this? What would you like, how would you like them to feel, and what would you like them to do? And then we sort of use that to create a kind of an overall framework. It's probably more of an advertising approach. Now I think about it, it's kind of reward design. But what's really key is the who, actually who's important, how does it matter, and what do we know about them? And telecommunications is a fascinating industry. I'm privileged enough to have worked in it a lot, which is brilliant. It's so fast moving. It's so cool. There's always kind of change. But one of the things I think is really interesting is when you look at handset, or how people are, pay as you monthly contracts versus pay as you go contracts, is so interesting and varies so much by market, and has such a huge impact on connection points with the customer, opportunities to talk to them, behaviors, attitudes to the brand. We're also seeing multi-handsets come in, so people having 3 or 4 phones, and not the kind of burner mentality that we would have had like 5 or 10 years ago, but actually that's just part of normal life. And then you've got to think about all the other devices. I have an 11-year-old son and a 13-year-old son, and in my family we've got countless numbers of iPads, Nintendo Switches, Xboxes, PCs, homework laptops, work laptops, work phones, personal phones. And actually how all those devices work together is another really interesting lens, not to mention the fact that lots of telcos are now moving into home broadband and streaming, and then at the other end you've got brands like Sky making televisions with a whole package that comes together. So it's a really interesting industry. I think the who's really important, as well as that I think Phil do. I think that's a really important point you raised there, Phil.
Yeah, great question, and great to see how you guys think and what the approach would be. But let's assume that we've pinpointed it. We know that it's about churn. We've got these metrics. Maybe we can tie in the low engagement of the app and hide a reward in the app. That then brings it to the next question, of course, which is which reward and how much can we spend on that? What would your train of thoughts be here? We did a poll on the last webinar, and there were sort of different suggestions there, looking at a percentage of CLV, segmenting only to your most loyal customers, looking at the monthly average spends. What's your thought here, Phil? How would you sort of map it out or calculate it for the CFO?
Yeah, it's very challenging, because telcos typically have very, very big customer bases who are all spending reasonably small amounts of money. So being able to be generous with a reward is going to be challenging. They don't have efficient rewards within the business. So really, if Frank is wanting to go after his most loyal customers and reward them and make a big song and dance, I'd probably suggest doing a program based on tenure, a combination of tenure and spend, and a fairly small segment of customers that are provided with something fairly generous that is going to generate some talkability, some sharing, some trophy value, all that sort of thing, and really lock them in. So you'd probably be going after business customers. That's where you're going to get the best bang for your buck, and lock them into fairly long-term contracts beyond what a consumer would normally accept.
Yeah, so look at the CLV, and then I guess a certain percentage of that value would justify an investment in that segment. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
What about you, Charlie? Where do you find the challenges for budgets when you're suggesting rewards? How does that work?
Yeah, so we use 5 different models actually when we're talking about partnerships with our clients and the reward portfolio. And increasingly, we found with the programs that we work with, we think about the rewards very holistically. So actually, we'll look at efficient rewards within their own portfolio, and we might find that whilst a client doesn't perceive that they have efficient rewards, actually, perhaps they do. And that's always a really interesting session with our clients. So what have you got within your own ecosystem that your customers value? Sky, very famously in the British market, identified that actually what their customers really wanted was VIP customer service, and actually the ability to get bumped to the front of the queue was a huge kind of asset that perhaps they didn't realize that they had, as well as obviously that natural fantastic entertainment asset base that they've got, and walk on parts and tickets to shows and meet the talent. But some of the things that perhaps required a little bit of lateral thinking in the early days was quite interesting. So that's where we would often start with Frank Frowner, what have you got? And we run a lot of kind of innovation sessions, and we use a lot of kind of cool techniques to unlock that lateral thinking and understand what actually there is. And we also do a lot of stakeholder engagement to understand, who's got what. One of the most interesting sessions that I think we run is when we sit down often with the client sponsorship team and look at what they're already sponsoring and what tickets they've got. And in that business space that you're talking about, Phil, internships, influencer partnerships, work experience even, there's all sorts of really interesting things. So that's where we start. And then in the partnerships model, when we're managing budget, we'll talk about 5 different models with our clients. So we'll talk about contra rewards, so where effectively partners will give you free rewards in return for exposure to your audience. We'll talk about part-funded rewards, which are my favorite, because I think that's where you get most value for your consumer. You've got to remember, I'm a strategist. My partnerships team would be like, no, it's the contra stuff that's great. But, it's where actually 2 brands are pooling their resources, capabilities, expertise to create, really fantastic rewards that work really well for the brand giving the partner, giving the partner reward, and work really well for the program giving away the partner reward. A brilliant account manager in my team, Jordan Frizzle, she runs a Partner Connect series for us at Mando Connect. I think it went on today or maybe yesterday, where she interviewed Sock Shop to talk about these kind of rewards. And actually that's a great one, because 2 halves are greater than the sum of the parts. It's such a natural thing that we do in our lives. So part funded. We'll then look at fully funded. So sometimes as a program you just have to suck it up, and we talk to our clients about that. Some of the high value rewards do have to be purchased, can't be acquired in a partnership model. But perhaps if you purchase enough of them, or you purchase them at a downtime, or actually you work collaboratively with the brand you're buying them, you can unlock discounts to them. So there's ways of creating fully funded rewards where actually you're not just handing over RRP. The 4th model then is our fixed fee model, which is where we'll actually work with our clients and actually look at the whole portfolio and take an assessment of, well, actually, what do we think the redemptions will be? And then we'll give our clients a fixed budget. So actually, this is your fixed budget for a fixed period of time for all your rewards, based on agreed variables. And if all your members claim them, fantastic, right? That's great. You've done really well. And if actually all your members don't claim them, then how can we work with you to help optimize and improve that claim rate? And then the last model has been really interesting. I'm a total maths nerd, right? I'm an economics, mathematics graduate. So I love this stuff. And revenue generation within loyalty has been really interesting to me to see that develop within the last sort of 5 years. And I think we're doing a lot of this. We've got a fantastic account director who specializes in it within my team, and he'd speak very articulately and far better than I would about it. But it's so interesting when you can then actually develop those partnerships where actually, as a consequence of that partnership, you're giving the customer a really valuable reward, but actually the loyalty program is taking some funding as well. And I think the best programs are then reinvesting that into the program so that they can then give higher value rewards to more people. And I think creating that virtuous circle is something really interesting, without stripping all the value out of the reward program and just using it to make money, because customers don't fall for that anymore. Any program I've observed that's tried to do that has failed and kind of fallen off a cliff in terms of engagement. Consumers are far too savvy for that. But I think carefully curated and selected revenue generating rewards within your portfolio that enable you to then reinvest is a really smart move and a really interesting development we've seen in the last sort of 5 years.
Amazing. And I guess one that perhaps falls under that category is the exchange for data. Many of these brands and loyalty programs are willing to pay a fee for an acquisition onboarding on their app. So hiding a reward or welcoming them with a reward there can totally justify that acquisition cost.
Yeah, and that's where, a lot of the places that we start with our clients, because I think when you're looking at your reward portfolio, a natural thing as a loyalty program owner is to go, well, how much is it going to cost and what am I going to get? And we always challenge our clients back. We're like, why would the partner be interested? What have you got that actually, let's make this a mutually beneficial opportunity so it works for the long term? And I think that's where the real value is.
Cool.
Yeah,
great.
I think the watch out there is companies that are doing a good job of collecting the data, but then not actually doing anything with it. So I think, as Charlie was saying earlier, consumers are getting a lot more savvy with respect to loyalty programs. That extends now to having the expectation that if I share my data with you, you're going to use that in order to improve the experience that I have when I'm interacting with you. And we're seeing some multiple research that says consumers now have the expectation that their experience is going to be personalized from their favorite brands, and they become quickly become detractors if they don't see it being executed in that way.
Yeah, I think Amazon has raised the bar for all of us who work in this space, as has Netflix. I always think it's interesting when we talk with our, our clients, customers and their audience, they're often not comparing you to a loyalty program. They're often comparing the level of personalization that they experience to how they shop or what they watch. We often talk about how fantastic Netflix is. It not only tailors what you see, it tailors how you see it, it tailors how it positions it. And I do think there is an expectation in loyalty that we need to catch up.
Yeah,
cool. And looking at the end of the year specifically, what would be some examples, Phil, maybe with you, that come to mind as good rewards or maybe even bad rewards if you have any?
Yeah, so good rewards. Give me Bitcoin. I'm a big Bitcoin fan, but we always recommend to our clients, maybe test if your members would like to be able to access or receive Bitcoin as a reward. And it's always a total dud. It's still too niche, unfortunately. But one day I'll keep trying.
Yeah.
They've brought out the new electric surfboards, the e-foils, which would be a fantastic reward as well. Dud reward is today. I'm a platinum frequent flyer for Qantas, and for my Christmas gift, they sent me a copy of their magazine.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like, okay, thank you
brilliant.
so much. But I think from my perspective, although rewards are interesting and important and they need to be tailored and relevant and appealing to customers, the area that we're really focused on and interested in at the moment is how those rewards are actually delivered. So we've been doing a lot of experimentation with digital games at the moment. There's some evidence to suggest that if someone is provided with a reward, such as a discount or a credit or something, versus playing a digital game and winning that reward, they're much more likely to actually take up the reward if they've won it versus if they've just been provided with it, because there's a sense of ownership and I put in effort to achieve this, so I need to make use of it. So we're really interested to explore that further. Anything that is posted out, particularly something that has handwritten notes with it, is super special because no one's doing it anymore. And a really good one, we worked with Southampton Football Club last year on designing out a loyalty program for them. And one of the things that they just started doing was identifying long-term fans who were at the games, and if it was their birthday, during half time, going and hand delivering a gift to the fan on their birthday. Wow. Which I just think if you're thinking about an emotional reward, you can't go past something like that.
No. Cool. What about you, Charlie? What comes to mind?
It really tickles me. I promise I'm not cheating. Look, here are my notes that I wrote before in my special Christmassy pen. I completely agree with what Phil was talking there. I think it's the what, but also the how. You know, we talked about the interest category, the value of the reward, the mechanic of the reward. And I think gamification is really important in some markets, not in all markets, but in some markets and with some audiences at Christmas. So I think there are some lovely, lovely uses of promotions within loyalty programs at the moment, where actually the fun of playing the thing is as good as getting the thing. I don't know how they would make receiving the Qantas magazine exciting in any way. I'm struggling with that one. But, you know, we a great one we've just done is with Vodafone, Elf and Seek. So we hide augmented reality elves all over the country and people find them. And the elves are so damn cute and the prizes are really, really good. So we've been doing that for a couple of years now, and that's really, really fun. And we get really lovely engagement from that and the excitement of the experience as well as the reward. I'd also call out a program I'm completely addicted to is the Cafe Nero loyalty program. Fantastic program, really generous, really consistent, and they run a lovely Christmas cracker promotion every year, and I love it. Despite the fact I work in this industry, I'm a sucker for it. I shake my phone and I get a little prize. It's amazing when I buy my coffee, and as anyone who knows me I'm completely addicted to Cafe Nero coffee as well. So I think those are some really nice examples of kind of gamified promotions at this time of year. And, you know, don't get bored. Loyalty, that the clue is in the title. You know, running a repeat promotion and doing it a little bit better every year is a really effective mechanic. You know, for IHG with their lovely snow globe, you know, kind of promotion that they ran for years as well. There's all sorts of really interesting things you can do in that space. So I think promotions make great Christmas rewards as long as you're generous with your prize pool. Don't do a Qantas. Don't do and everybody wins and then everybody wins a Qantas magazine. Nobody wants that at Christmas. It's much better to be really clear about, you know, your odds of winning. You know, one person a day will win this, or 3 people a day will win this, or everyone will get this. But just be really kind of clear about what people are doing. And then I also think there are some lovely rewards that work particularly well in these key seasonal moments. And actually, it's a little bit in your space, Simon, but I promise I'm not fudging it. It's the universal reward that the gatekeeper of the loyalty program can use as a gift for somebody that matters to them. Now, there's lots of examples of these that exist out there. So cinema tickets is a classic. Photos is another one. You know, the dining out experience, even the free coffee at this time of year. It's the free gift that someone can go, oh, I'll have that for me. What a lovely little treat. Or actually, it's giftable and I can give that away to somebody else that either helps me, depending what sort of person I am, if I'm a technical mindset, helps me net manage my Christmas budget, and clever old me, I've kind of been really savvy. Or actually, if I'm an altruistic type, it's like, oh, wow, I've made the world a better place. So it's a really interesting kind of tailorable gift that feels very personal, but is actually a one size fits all. You can just adapt it and use it however you like. And then the third and final thing I think is really important that I am a bit soapboxy about with all the programs that we work. And I know I annoy all the clients in the industry about it, but as a constant thing of just because we're loyalty marketeers doesn't mean we should only be looking at behavioral metrics. We're all citizens of the planet. We all need to be thinking about actually what can we do to help people and to help the planet and act in a responsible way. So I do think particularly at this time of year, you need to look at your corporate social responsibility policy and you need to bake that into the experience. Now, it might be rewards that are actually charity donations. It might be a charity donation when somebody claims a particular reward. It might even just be promotion and exposure for a charity partner so that actually they're getting in front of an audience so that we can help. So it doesn't always drive the highest engagement. It doesn't always drive, you know, if you were going to give away a cash prize or a fuel voucher versus a charity donation, of course the fuel voucher is going to get higher redemption. But I do think it's really important that as responsible members of the community, we all kind of activate in that space at this time. And I think the best examples of that are where you combine the reward with the charity. You're not just kind of pushing it on your members to donate their points to charity. It's like, yeah, you do it, we'll enable it, but we won't give anything. I think as a program owner, you need to act and you need to give too. But that's the soapboxy bit over.
Yeah. So summarize.
Here, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Do well, stand out, don't be boring. And I think the thing you both mentioned is include elements of gaming. So why not round off this session? Because I see we're already approaching the end of the hour. Why not round off with a little game that we can play? It's called Hot or Not. I don't know, Phil, if you have your flags. Otherwise, you can use your thumb up or down. But there you go. Charlie, do you have yours?
I put holly on them.
Nice. Decoration and all. That's dedication. Cool. So I'm gonna just shout out a couple of rewards for a potential Christmas gift, and you guys just have to show the flag whether you would recommend it or not. I know there's a lot more info needed about the brand and the circumstances, but just your first gut feeling. It's a bit of a game anyway, right? So
Is one of them Qantas magazine?
no, it's not on there. I should have included it.
Can we add that?
Yeah. Cool. So if we're ready, we're going to go in 1, 2, 3. And the first one is a 20% discount. Not or hot. Okay. Divided. The next one, double up a member's points. Yeah, I would have expected that to win. Next one, a raffle, prize raffle to win a trip abroad.
Ooh. I think that depends on the market and the audience. With some, that's perfect. If it's like an Ibiza weekend with your girlfriends and you're targeting a particular audience, it's bang on. If it's some kind of boring, anyone can get it and actually only one person's going to win it and you've got to fund your own tax and all that kind of stuff, then it's a not. So for me, that's probably both, depending what it is.
Yeah.
Bill, you're being hard.
I think in our research, we're seeing wholesale disengagement with competitions from consumers. In every market research, we say they'd much rather have the surety of getting something than a very, very small chance of winning a big prize. I think most people are jaded because they've entered so many competitions and not got anything.
I think that's interesting, actually. We've seen something a little bit different in our data, actually. We've seen an increased engagement with promotions, but actually the importance of a tiered prize pool. So the high-end aspirational excitement, the middle tier, oh, yes, actually, that's really great. I've got a good chance of winning. And then the really important critical low value, I'm actually going to get something. And we've seen engagement with those types go up massively. But I completely agree. The one high prize that you don't ever feel you're going to win, that's kind of really declined off. But that pyramid is really effective at the moment.
Cool. But we got to move on, guys.
Nice.
Oh, sorry.
The next one is free merchandise, hot or not.
Unless it's the Qantas magazine.
Okay, cool. Didn't expect this one. Next one is cinema tickets for your high tier members. Winner, obviously. And then a thank you email to your entire database.
That's a hygiene factor. You've got to do that, right?
Is the email made of chocolate?
All right, and then another strategy could be do nothing because there's so much communication already.
That is, for some programs, that is right. But for some programs, it's not.
Yeah. What about a 1 month free Spotify subscription? Too little or enough? Not enough.
Well, it's just the I guess what it leads to, right?
Yeah.
I think what works better is a continual discount on a Spotify subscription.
Yeah, it's also really important. Our clients often ask us this sort of question, Simon, and I'm like, well, the data exists, right? I can literally look up like whether your members are members of Spotify or what streaming service they use. So let's have a look, shall we? And then you can actually answer that question kind of factually. And I think a lot of brands forget to do that, and they forget that kind of data exists.
Yeah.
What about a ticket to the Olympics for your VIP members? Hot.
Good.
Well, if it's only one ticket, nobody wants it. They'll go, oh, thank you, that's really exciting, but they don't want to go. So hot if it's 2 tickets and they can take somebody that they know.
Next one is a box of chocolate, but you still have to pay for the shipment yourself.
This one always really surprises me because I think free shipping is a really interesting thing versus paid for shipping. But I can tell you, we were looking at this last week with the analysts for the British market. That is a hot prize. A hot reward.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've not heard of it before. I'll try.
Cool. And then I've got to do this one: printed photos that you can get delivered at home, entirely free free.
I'm not
No
cheating
pressure.
as well.
No
We
pressure.
know that that's a really good reward. It's a brilliant example of that emotionally engaging reward that you can use however you like. I think that's lovely. You know, in my household, the photo calendar is really important. We make one every year for both grandmas with all the kids looking super cute in them, and the real photos that go on the fridge really matter. So I think that's a really good example of what I was talking about earlier, that universal reward that you can keep for yourself or gift or use to help the shopping, however, you know, whatever sort of person you are. And I'm not just saying that, I promise.
And then we're going to end with the last one, which was suggested by Amanda on a previous podcast or webinar. No pressure there either, but a personal phone call to your most valuable members to thank them. What's your take?
Super hot.
Not cool.
Depends again on which brand you are. I really don't want my water company calling me and telling me that I spend more on my water bill than anybody else.
Yeah.
However, I was interviewing Oracle Red Bull Racing's the paddock loyalty manager this week, and my job is so cool. And actually, that personalised connection between the team who run the program and their VIP top tier fans is one of their like most engaging, most cool rewards. So no from the water company, yes from Red Bull, please. That would be brilliant.
They can call us too. I agree. Cool. Thanks so much, Charlie and Phil. It's been wonderful. We rounded up just in time, so gonna let everybody continue their day and have a nice one. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having
All right,
us.
thank you so much,
Bye,
Simon.
guys.
And Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.